So I've got more of this scrap wood. It's cottonwood bark. You know, when you buy a bunch of it, you kind of get these little pieces that they throw in for what it's worth. And I thought I'd carve something that looks like this. So you can see I've got a little bit of a difference in dimension, but I've got enough here to do something with, and I thought I'd do like a little Santa, or excuse me, a gnome bust. Instead of a Santa, because I can take advantage of the higher cap. Although you could do a Santa and then do a long tassel at the top. You know, is another thing that you could do, with kind of like the little tassel coming up this way. But the cottonwood bark is not real stable when it gets thin, so I think I'll just stick with the gnome cap. But the first part of anything is just to clean off all of this loose stuff, and that's what I'm going to do now. Okay, so that's looking pretty good. Clean some of this stuff up. Cottonwood bark makes a little bit of a mess. And because of the camera, I'm kind of hemmed in here and I don't have my pencil handy. All right, so instead of a pencil, I'm going to use this pen because it's kind of a pain in the neck to get out of here with the way the camera's set up. You'd laugh if you could see it, but it seems to work. So anyway, I'm putting the top of the gnome cap in here like that. And you can see he's going to have a little bit of a bend in this direction. Use this wide gouge and follow the edge of the cap. Okay. Follow it up with this knife. Just roll it like this. Create a stop cut. And I want this gouge, just sort of a flex cut, 3/4 inch wide, something like that. Almost flat, but not quite. And then just remove some of this material right up to that stop cut. And I'm going to put a center line right there. And just kind of make a T for the eyes. A little bit for the nose right there. Let's have it come down to about there. This is my old bullet pen. It's amazing that I haven't lost it. But, you know, these things were popular back when I was a kid in the 80s, and I've still got it. It's a pressurized canister you can write upside down. Okay, so I've got the narrow gouge. I'm just going to follow the nose. Got this sort of like that that wider one. This is only like about a ½ inch. Basically what you're doing here is just removing material so that you can have that nose stick out a little bit. I'll take that knife right about there. As I dig in, I'm going to push it towards the front, towards the top of the brim. Sometimes for a little more precision, I'm going to go in there with this little knife. But these little scrap pieces are great to learn with. Notice that this side is a little too low. I'll take care of that now. That's a little better. Smooth this edge out right there. Same on that side. Okay, so the old trick on the side of the nose, just kind of wiggle that knife in there. Bring it right up to the brow. Flatten that off. Same thing on this side. Flatten that off. again, we're going to create a flat surface in here so that we can carve the eye. Flatten that up a little bit more. Let's see if I get the light right. Looking pretty decent. Little piece of my 220 grit here. Kind of smooth those eye sockets out a little bit. Okay, well, this is going to be a pain in the neck to do with my pen here, but let's see if we can. All right. That's pretty good. And if I can find the smallest V-gouge ever made in the free world. Here it is. I think that's a 1mm V-gouge. And we're just going to follow that line. I've actually got a pair of these glasses. They're almost comical. I bought these at an antique store. Something Santa Claus would wear, for God's sakes. But they're like 1,000 times more powerful than the regular readers. So I'm just going to follow lightly that cut that I just made. I found those glasses and they've got gold rims, so God, I think I had to pay like $40, but when I put them on, I'm like, oh man, I can use this. I can see what I'm doing. All right, so that is not so bad, actually. A little bit on this side. This is like surgery, you know? See, like right there, I took too much out, so I gotta even it up over here. Micro cuts, like a 1/2 millimeter. All right, I'm not going to mess with that. That looks pretty good. And there's a wide variety of things that you can do at this stage. Change out my glasses. You can use a U-gouge and go like this. And what we're going to do is just take that U-gouge on the other side, create like an eyebrow. Same thing over here. It's kind of hard to see it, but I think he's turning out pretty good. Okay. Not bad. My trusty bullet pen here. I'm going to put the mustache line in. Need to round that off a little bit. That's horrendous. And just follow that right up the side. Same thing here. I need to shape this in. Symmetry is really important. And I could tell that this was a little too fat on this side. Mustache goes like this. Like that. Looking good. Get out this old narrow V-gouge here. Actually, I've got this is a 20-some-odd-year-old one. I've got a new one over here. Here he is. Little more precise. So we're going to follow the top edge of that mustache just like this, right up like that. Curve straight up. See with the wood grain sometimes. And on the side of the eyes, kind of define that eyebrow a little bit more. Wiggle that in there. Take that little bit out. Take that out too. All right. Looking for my old 45 degree. Follow the bottom part of that mustache. And just take this chisel and follow the lower part, kind of define that cut that we just made. I always use my thumb to kind of help steady and scoot things scoot the chisel along here sometimes. That's why I got a little bit of a carving callus there. Okay, let's figure out what that beard's going to do. Maybe I'll take this off a little more, define it. Define that. Always like to leave some of this wood down here because, you know, you look at this and you're like, well, where did this come from? Well, if you got the bark on there, that answers that question. And plus it just gives it a little bit more character. I'm going to follow the edge of the cheek here, just take that edge off. Using my thumb to kind of scoot it along. Okay, what are we going to do with the beard? How about if we give it a nice little curl right there? That'll look nice. Another little piece coming down over here. Same thing over there. Hairline down around like that. Why am I whispering? I have no idea. Maybe another curl like that. Yeah, I think I like that. I'm going to go in with this trusty old feel gouge. Just follow those lines that I just did. Like this. Using that thumb to kind of scoot the knife along. I'm getting ahead of myself here because I didn't define the side of the hair here, so I'm going to do that right now. Lightly follow that. Take some of that material out. and define some of these cuts a little bit, like this. And I'm just going to kind of sharpen these lines up. Like this. And I'm going to kind of go in at an angle here and just kind of give that beard some definition. Make it stand out a little bit. Okay, do a little more of that on this side. Okay, not so bad. And I'm going to take this V gouge. That's my newer V gouge. It's only about 8 years old. This one's a little bit more worn and it makes a wider cut. But as you can see, I'm just going to follow the lower hairline here. Add a little texture to the hair. Sort of like this. And you can follow it up with the U gouge if you like, and go in between. Create a little more definition. And let's see, well, I got this U gouge. Kind of try to give this beard A little more texture, like that. A little more interest in the beard. And follow that up with the U gouge, or not a U, but a V. And create some depth. Carve that back a little bit. Okay, while we're at it, let's give this mustache a little more character by doing this. Same on this side. I know the wood grain makes it sort of hard to see what I'm doing here. Just keep in mind that these pieces are great to practice with, but you're not going to get a ton of detail just because they're so small. So he is coming along. We need to work on this hat a little bit. Nail's looking a little long. Maybe I'll just go ahead and try to, I think I'll wait on that. Do that before the next video. Okay. And I'm just kind of rounding that off a little bit. Like this. Curve this in just a little bit. Nice. This is going to be a woodland gnome. Red cap. Of course, the white beard. And I usually just leave this untreated. And it's kind of a delicate thing to paint because you have to get the white, and you don't want to get it on this because I'm going to come back and just put clear sealer on this, not on this wood part, just on this part, and it really makes the wood grain jump. So you got to be careful painting the white in. And quite frankly, if you do get a little bit of white splashed on this, you just want to come back to your bench and just chisel that out. But he's actually looking pretty good, so I'm going to sand him up and then I'll show you what he looks like. So just to kind of show you what I'm doing here is just working this sandpaper in like this, very lightly. Going really light. And this is 220 grit. And just lightly polish out that cap that he's got. I think he'll polish up, paint up really nice. Red cap, white beard. And he can just hang around for the next 100 years or so like that, sitting on somebody's shelf and look really good. These guys you can keep out all year long, right? The Santas, you got to bring them in, I think. Well, you don't have to, but people think it's kind of weird, you know, to see a Santa hanging out middle of the summer. But these guys, you can let them hang out any place in your house all year. The Woodland Gnome. And there he is, folks. Nice little project. Get the basics down. And paint them up nice and pretty, and somebody will love them.